Welcome along, everybody, or welcome back if you joined us earlier to the Autodromo di Vallelunga for the final weekend of racing in the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. It's the EuroNASCAR 2 first final of the weekend that's coming up very shortly at this wonderful circuit. Second visit to this circuit just outside of Rome, which has undergone much renovation and extension over the years. Vallelunga now one of the most modern circuits in Italy. At first opened its doors to racing back in the 1950s, and at that point it was just 1.7 kilometres long. An extension was put on the circuit in the 1960s, which raised the circuit length to 3.2 kilometres, and then a further extension to that was put on in around about 2004-2005, which means that it's now a 4-kilometre track that we are racing around. We've already had one race today from the EuroNASCAR Pro Division, where Whelen have made a little bit of history and went towards victory lane for his first career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. And we're trying to tot up as to when Whelen last won a race. Was it back in Formula 1 24 years ago? Or either way, it's going to be 20 plus years since he last claimed a race win in any significant race, but great to see him on the podium. Are we going to see a new driver head towards victory lane in this particular race? So the cars are nudging their way out of the garage. I've told you a little bit about the track. Let's bring up the graphic that shows you what this track looks like, because as I say, it has been extended many times over the years. So it is now the 4-kilometre circuit that we are racing on. We've got a really good aerial view that shows you what the track looks like. So it's just under 4.1 kilometres, 4.085 kilometres. That's just over 2.5 miles. And the first part of the lap, very quick indeed, through the daunting kinks at Curva Grande and down towards the two right-handers on the right-hand side of your screen now, Chimney 1 and Chimney 2, and the fast kink that brings them up towards the hairpin at Campanero. But once you've gone through Campanero, you can see the next corners all blend together with lefts and rights all together. So in total, yeah, turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, the fast parts of the circuit. Turn 8 onwards, that's when we get to the slower section of the circuit. 14 corners in all for the drivers to try and get used to as they will head out onto this circuit very, very shortly indeed. So it's the EuroNASCAR 2 division that is heading out onto circuit now. That is their first race of the weekend. Let's just guide you through the way that we work things out over the course of the weekend. We had qualifying this morning, and that will set the grid for this race. So we've already had, if you look at Saturday, we've already had the qualifying, we've already had EuroNASCAR Pro race earlier on today. It's EuroNASCAR 2 that's coming up. You can see it's a shorter race for them relative to the Pro Division. And these cars will be back out tomorrow morning for a race as well. If you're watching in Central Europe or in the UK, thank you for joining us. Remember, we go from Central European summertime to CET tomorrow. We go from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time, so you get an extra hour in bed. However, if you're joining us in the States, I'm well aware that you will stay on Eastern Daylight Time for another week or so yet. So tomorrow morning, you'll need to set your alarms a little bit earlier in the States. You'll get a lie-in, an extra hour in bed if you're watching in the UK, but we'll give you the times of those 2 races that are coming up tomorrow. So the car's heading out onto circuit. The championship cannot be secured in this particular race, no matter what happens mathematically. Should Tobias Downhauer, the championship leader, win the race, even if Martin Dubeck weren't to start this race, the maths would still mean that Tobias Downhauer would be not able to mathematically put the championship out of sight in this particular race. So it will go down, as it has done so many times over the years, to the final race of the weekend. So let's have a look at what the point standings are coming into this weekend. So this is the EuroNASCAR 2 division. I mentioned Tobias Downhauer is your championship leader, but he only leads by 3 points in the championship from Martin Dubeck. Now we've had the regular season done and dusted, the drivers dropped their 2 worst scores. The points you're looking at are taking those into account. So Dubeck just 3 points off championship leader Tobias Downhauer. Vladimir Choitzis is a further 24 points off the race leader, championship leader Tobias Downhauer, with Nave Talor, a winner last time out at Zolder, now moving up to 4th in the championship standings. The Brands Hatch winner, Advait Deodar, is 5th, and Justin Coots is 6th. The subcategories, leading the rookie charge at this stage is joint 7th in the championship, but is the leading rookie Alberto Panabianco. That's for drivers in their first season of NASCAR racing, regardless of their age. The Legend Trophy is for anybody aged over 40. for which yours truly would also be eligible if you were to join the grid. That is Max Lancer that leads that, but not by a huge amount really, from Yevgen Sokolovsky. And the lady trophy at the moment, to look over to the right-hand side of the screen, 16th in the overall standings, Ariana Casoli is the leading driver in the lady trophy at this stage, with something like a 25-point advantage over the other lady in the field, the Austrian rookie, which is Alina Leubneger. So that's the way that the championship points look heading into this particular race. But remember, the points work differently on the finals weekend. The regular season, it's 40 points if you win a race. We are now in the finals weekend, and therefore it is double championship points that are up for grabs. And I think this graphic will show you exactly what I mean there. So 10 of the best 12 rounds count in the regular season, so we ditch those two worst scores and then head to the points in the finals. 80 points for a win, 70 for second, 68 for third, and even the bonus points for people that gain the most places, starting position to finishing position. Look in the far bottom right of the screen, that's doubled as well, 8 extra championship points for that. So that's what the finals are all about. That is what usually means that we bring the championship battles right the way down to the final races, and I'm sure that is what we're going to see, or I know that's what we're going to see again, because regardless of what happens in this race, Tobias Stauenhauer cannot do enough to put the championship out of sight in this race. He can go a lot closer, a few steps further to making sure he's the champion, but he can't be the champion in this race. So it's all to play for, and it'll be a nervous night with not much sleep, I would imagine, for those at the sharp end of the championship fight. Now, Tobias Stauenhauer will start this race from pole position. I'll guide you through the grid when they're on the formation lap, but Tobias Stauenhauer will start this race in the number 50 Hendricks Ford from pole position. That's exactly what he did at this equivalent race meeting, our first ever visit to Vallelunga last year. He started the car from pole position. He went on to win that race and set the fastest lap, and because he set the fastest lap in the first race of the weekend, he started from pole in race 2 of the weekend. And what did Tobias Stauenhauer do last year here? Won that as well and set the fastest lap. So he is as yet to be beaten on this circuit, but there are plenty of drivers that are desperate to see whether they can overhaul him, including that car there, car number 66, the re-liveried car of Simon Palat for this weekend. DF1 having re-liveried a couple of their cars. Looks absolutely fantastic, the livery on that car. Really, really impressed with that. There's Max Lancer. Max Lancer taking over the car that Alan Day had problems with in the EuroNASCAR Pro race earlier on. Max Lancer qualified 9th quickest, but is the leading legend driver that we have on the grid. So he is on pole position in reality for the subcategory for those aged 40 and over. So he'll be looking to try and see whether he can hang on to what is a slender lead, really, in that category. He's just 12 points ahead of Yevgen Sokolovsky as they fight over the Legend Trophy Championship. 11th and 12th they are in the overall championship series. Plenty of support for that man. Pierluigi Veronesi, the 33-year-old Italian, part owner of this team, Double V Racing. Great to see Pierluigi Veronesi back in the series. He finished 7th overall in EuroNASCAR 2 back in 2019. Has raced in the likes of single-seaters in Formula Renault and the GT Italia Championship in the past. Did a bit of Clio Cup, I think, in Italy as well, did Pierluigi Veronesi for a season or so. So the buzzer's going off. Already some of the team members starting to leave. We are, apologies again, a little bit behind time. The stream was starting a little bit late because of issues and problems earlier on. If you're wondering why that car is a mixture of different colours, that's because that is a spare car that Leonardo Colavita has jumped on board. So that is a car that he has had to have shipped in, really. He had an off in the Club Challenge regularity test yesterday. The car was irreparable, and Vict Motorsport, in conjunction with DF1 Racing, have managed to come to an agreement to utilise one of the DF1 cars. So it's not cobbled together, it's a solid car, don't get me wrong, it's quick, but the bodywork is off several cars just to make sure that he's out there. They'll work on that car overnight and re-livery it, I'm sure. So that is why that car looks as though it's a mixture of purples and whites and blues and just doesn't look as though it's sort of finished. It is because they've really had to work hard to even get that car out in qualifying, and fair play to Leonardo Colavita, the 16-year-old Italian, youngest driver we've got in the field. He qualified 12th out of the 22 cars, so not a bad performance in a car which literally was last minute brought to the circuit. So all of the cars lined up. We're about 4 minutes away from hearing those infamous words. And I think because we're a bit behind schedule, we might not necessarily get all of the build-up that we would usually get to. There we go, the infamous words are given for the drivers to start their engines. The command coming in a little bit earlier because we are running behind time. 1 minute board is held aloft. The remaining team members now just vacating the grid. Our Grand Marshal has asked the drivers to start their engines. And with the last few team members scrabbling over the wall, they'll be heading off around their last formation lap ahead of what is scheduled to be a 15-lap race for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR 2 division. All of these cars, remember, identical in terms of the engines. 5.7 litre, that's 350 cubic inch V8 engine. 4-speed manual gearbox. There is the option of a sequential nowadays, but it's a mechanical sequential. It's not an electronic sequential. But I think almost without exception, every driver still opting for the sport 4-speed manual. That engine produces around about 400 brake horsepower. And as for the weight of the cars, well, they're just over 1.25 tons, 1,225 kilos there or thereabouts. That's equivalent of 2,700 pounds. So off they go on their formation lap. Let's guide you through the grid for this first final of the weekend for the EuroNASCAR 2 division. It's Tobias Dauenhauer that lines up alongside Vladimir Choitzis on row number 1. Simon Palat and Francesco Garisto sit there on row number 2. The third row of the grid sees Justin Kuntz line up alongside Martin Dubeck. And row 4 is Navetalo with the leading rookie in the field, Levi Lintacantu. Max Lancer, the leading legend, sits on the inside of row number 5 with Pierluigi Veronesi, and it's Alberto Panebianco and Leonardo Colavita on row number 6. Advite Yoda, the Brands Hatch winner, has Yevgen Sokolovsky for company on row number 7, with Osi Peltila and Tom Krasinas on row number 8. Miguel Gomez and Alfredo Di Matteo, new to the championship, lining up there on row number 9. And row 10 is Ariana Casali and Paolo Valeri, who gets a 5-place grid drop as a result of warning points racking up over the season. Eric Quintal and Alina Leubniger, both of whom missed qualifying with issues with their cars. They start off the tail end of the field. It was a chassis problem with the number 12 car. Never did quite get to the bottom of what was wrong with the Speedhouse number 64 car in the hands of the 57-year-old Frenchman. But for Eric Quintal, he's got plenty of work to do, the former Caterham and French GT racer, to try and haul that car up through the field. But it's going very well in the hands of Luca Lasserre in the EuroNASCAR Pro race earlier on today, which tends to suggest that all is well with that car. So we'll see how far up Eric Quintal can get and how far up Alina Leubniger can get. Can she hunt down the leader of the Lady Trophy, which is Ariana Casali, who starts a place ahead of her on the grid? We'll have to find out. So last little bit of warming up of tyres being done. The car's just heading around through the twisty section of the circuit at the moment, so through Trincee and then up towards Semaforo, which if you're translating from English to Italian, that literally means traffic light, Semaforo. And then from there, the right-hander, they'll then be down a really short straight. Quite difficult, really, because you come out of Semaforo a right-hander, which means you're on the left-hand side of the circuit. You haven't got much room to get yourself back over to the other side of the circuit for the even tighter Tonantino, which is the left-hander that they're just heading through now. And then from there, it's up to the S's, and it's on the exit of the S's where pit lane entry is. So that's where the Lamborghini safety car will peel its way off the circuit. The Whelen lights have already been extinguished on it, and then the cars will have to maintain their pace up to the final corner, which is the banked corner at Roma, the last corner. So they're just heading through the S's now. Pit lane entry will be off to driver's right, left as we look at it on our screens. Off goes the pace car, and now the drivers will just need to hold station in their 2 lines right the way round through Roma, the final corner. And we're about to get our first final for EuroNASCAR 2 underway at the finals weekend for the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Buckle up, we're about to go green for the first time in EuroNASCAR 2 this weekend. Tobias Dauenhauer and Vladimir Choitzis on the front row of the grid. Tobias Dauenhauer gets his foot down, Choitzis with not a bad run. The two of them go side by side up towards Curve Grande, but it is going to be Tobias Dauenhauer that leads, and it looks as though Choitzis is just about trying to hang on to second place. Francesco Garisto was right with him, and now Garisto, I think, will have the inside line as they head up towards Jiminy 1 and might go through here into second place. Choitzis still trying to brave it out. Pierluigi Veronesi disappears off in the background, runs very wide indeed, and through the gravel trap. He's going to continue. You can see him still rallycrossing his way through the gravel in the background. But that is going to drop Pierluigi Veronesi at his home NASCAR Grand Prix all the way to the tail end of the field. The 33-year-old Italian finally rejoins the circuit. Very dusty Hoosier tyres to try and clean up. So everybody, despite that off, has made it without any real issues through the first couple of corners, whilst Tobias Downhour is looking to try and make good his escape. He did very few laps in qualifying. The likes of Vladimir Choitsis and Simon Palat did, 14, 15 laps in qualifying. Tobias Downhour, if memory serves me correctly, only did 6. So his tyres are going to be arguably in a better condition in this race than some of the other drivers around him. Martin Dubec's there in 4th place, trying to apply pressure to Vladimir Choitsis, but it's Tobias Downhour that leads. Francesco Garisto in 2nd, Vladimir Choitsis in 3rd, Dubec 4th. Then it's Simon Palat in 5th place. Justin Kuntz is there in 6th place. Nave Talor, it looks like, the Zolder winner, is there for Not Only Motorsport, the number 90 car in 7th place. Have a look at the back of the shot. Who's there in 8th place? That is Levi Lintercantu, I think, that's there in 8th place. So he will be the leading rookie that we've got in the field in the early stages of this one. So that's, I think, the order that they are in. Can't get that confirmed by the timing screens, though, because, again, as we've had really all weekend so far, there's some issues with the timing system that is being utilised, and it just sort of seems to freeze, and all the screen goes white and you lose absolutely everything. So we're still working on a few technical issues whilst the race continues. And as it does, out front, leading the way is Tobias Downhour. After the first lap of racing, 1.4 seconds to the good is Tobias Downhour, and he's starting to make good his escape, isn't he? The 42 Racing shadow of Francesco Garisto there in 2nd place, the white car with the yellow and the orange and the red flashes to it, dropping away. Vladimir Choitsis in the Ford, still under pressure from the Hendricks Ford that sits behind, so that's 3rd and 4th place. The Cypriot just ahead of the Czech driver Martin Dubec, and remember, Dubec lies 2nd in the championship standings, whereas the current championship leader by just 3 points, Tobias Downhour, is out front and leading the race at this stage. Sweeping their way round through the left-hander at Trinchea, up towards Semaphore, the right-hander which starts to tighten up ever more on the exit of it, and then get the car from the left to the right because you're onto the brakes and up towards Torrentino. Choitsis in the number 1 car, having to fight hard here. He's got Ford sitting behind him, which is Martin Dubec. And, of course, remember that Martin Dubec is 2nd in the championship. Vladimir Choitsis, who is ahead of him at the moment on the road, is 3rd in the championship. So they've got wheel to wheel and nose to tail many times this season. Up towards the conclusion of lap number 3 they will come. Now, the gap was 1.4 seconds. Through goes Downhour over the start-finish line. Then Francesco Garisto. What was 1.4 seconds? Has the gap come out any further? It looks as though it may well have done. Yep, it's come out to 2 seconds now, 1st to 2nd place. So it's all going the right way as far as Tobias Downhour is concerned. And then we've got Garisto, Choitsis, Martin Dubec and Simon Palat all together. A little bit more of a gap before we see the 6th place car of Justin Kuntz. But this is a good train of cars here. Now, Garisto just has enough daylight between himself and Choitsis, so he doesn't need to worry. He can just concentrate on the road ahead. Choitsis in 3rd place is just far enough ahead of the number 7 Hendricks Ford in the hands of Martin Dubec. And the only driver that's in this field that has won before here, or in Italy, in any of the previous Italian NASCAR Grand Prix, is the man who's leading at the moment, Tobias Downhour. And amazingly, I think in EuroNASCAR 2, we've only ever had one Italian win his home NASCAR Grand Prix, and that was Denis Zardo some years ago. Other than that, it's always been either Belgians or French or Swiss drivers. I think we've had a Brazilian win before, Felipe Rebello. Tobias Downhour, of course, German. But there's only ever been one Italian that's won an Italian NASCAR Grand Prix in EuroNASCAR 2, the 2nd flight of European NASCAR racing. So that was Denis Zardo, and that would have been 2017 when we were racing at Franciacorta. Started from pole in one lap, did Denis, set the fastest lap in another race and went to victory lane in one of the 2 races. Now, Max Lancer coming under pressure here. This is Advait Dioda that's right behind him. The 2 Cal Racing machines. The Italian just keeping the number 88 Monster Energy-backed car ahead of the Indian. And they're going to come out of Roma side by side over the start-finish line. So this is for the final place inside the top 10. Who's going to finish 9th? Who's going to finish 10th? But they need to be careful here, because not that far behind them, starting to close in, is the next of the cars, which is going to be Leonardo Colavita at the wheel of the number 9 car. Say the Victor Racing and DF1 combined effort for this weekend, really. The Vic Racing car too badly damaged, borrowing this car from DF1, and now looking to try and get himself inside the top 10, which, as I say, would be a great turnaround for his fortunes, really, Leonardo. He's only 16 years of age. Italian by birth, but has lived in the US for a good number of years. As diving up the inside goes Advait Dioda. The door was open, through went Advait Dioda. No second invitation needed. Leonardo Colavita follows him through. Max Lanza runs wide, loses 2 places, might lose a 3rd here if he's not careful, because he's now got the number 89 car of Alberto Panabianco behind, and that would be, I think, the lead potentially of the Legend Trophy, still going his way actually, so might have lost a couple of places. Yeah, so Max Lanza will still be leading the Legend Trophy for those drivers over 40 at the moment. The leading rookie we've got is going to be in 8th place, the number 23 car of Livi Lintecanto, the Scandinavian. And who's leading the Lady Trophy at the moment? It is going to be Ariana Cassely down in 20th position, who is only just ahead of Alina Leubnegger. There's not a great deal between them. Now, this is the number 4 car coming under pressure. Ossi Peltola going wheel to wheel with Alfredo Di Matteo, 2 drivers new to the series this weekend, both non-championship scoring. Ossi Peltola not long out of kart racing, was kart racing up until a couple of years ago, doing really well at that. Whereas for Alfredo Di Matteo, we've seen more of him in Porsche Carrera Cup Italy and the Clio Cup Italy over the course of the last few years. The 27-year-old Italian looking to try and squeeze his way through and past the Finn. Can he do it? He's got the inside line. Yeah, through he goes. Place gained, but Ossi Peltola is trying to fight back. Right behind them is Yevgen Sokolovsky as well. And Miguel Gomez, the Portuguese driver, he throws one up the inside of Yevgen Sokolovsky and takes the place away. And also trying to join in is the recovering car of Pierluigi Veronese. That's the black car with the day glow flashes to it. So this is a great fight, I've got to say. Fantastic stuff. This is 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, is it all together? Busy squabbling away, really rolling their sleeves up and getting stuck in. So as they head down the straight and in towards Cerati, still Alfredo Di Matteo hanging on to the position. There is the number 2 car looking to try and go through. That's the Greek driver, Tom Krasinas, who's looking to try and unlock the door and gain a place. That all got very close indeed there. Tom Krasinas there looked to try and attack Pierluigi Veronese, whilst trying to defend from Paolo Valeri's number 8 car as well. But it's one train of, what, 7 cars, isn't it, altogether? Veronese up the inside of Yevgen Sokolovsky. Through goes the Italian and ahead of the Ukrainian, but then runs wide on the exit of the corner. Sokolovsky, in the meantime, still coming under pressure from the Greek driver, which is Tom Krasinas. And all of the time, right behind them, is the 43-year-old Italian as well, Paolo Valeri. So, great fights going all the way through the order. Gather there might be a time penalty heading the way of, I think it was car number 90, Navi Talor, who has got some sort of penalty for an infringement with some contact out on circuit. We'll get, hopefully, further confirmation of that. I think it was number 90. So, through the right-hander at Curva Grande, Yevgen Sokolovsky having to really stick his elbows out to hang on to 17th place. Since Veronese went through, he's disappeared up the road, hasn't he, with the double V car, but Yevgen Sokolovsky driving hard. Driver who's got plenty of miles under his belt in EuroNASCAR this year. He has done every single race of the season, hasn't missed one. He's raced every weekend that we've had racing, and he's raced in both divisions both weekends as well. Now Miguel Gomez, the green and yellow car, heading towards us under pressure. Back to Choitzis in 3rd place, who is falling a bit more away from the 2nd place car of Francesco Garisto now, and is coming under pressure from the Ford of Martin Dubeck, and then not that far off is the DF1 Racing Chevy of Simon Palat. So that's going to be 3rd, 4th and 5th altogether. It's just allowing Tobias Downhar and Francesco Garisto to disappear up the road a little bit more. Now, Francesco Garisto has had an up and down season, really, in terms of what he's done so far this year. He has had a 2nd place, Francesco Garisto. That was at Most in the 2nd of the 2 races there. Well, he's on course to equal that at the moment at the wheel of the number 42 car. He's 3.6 seconds behind the race leader. And whilst Tobias Downhour is out front and leading, he'll be more than happy that that is adding to his championship tally. If Tobias Downhour wins this race, he would be on 378 points. If Vladimir Choitsis can hang on to second place, he would be on 344, but the car behind him, Martin Dubek, is looking to try and correct that as he goes up the inside to try and take second place away, and that is Martin Dubek at second in the championship now, looking for second on the road, and he's made it stick, so that means Martin Dubek would now be on 365 at the end of this race, and Choitsis would be on 342 at the end of this race. So that's the way the championship falls all the time, but then Dubek almost runs wide, and that's going to try and allow Choitsis back up the inside. There's not enough of a gap, so he backs out of it as they head round through Trinchea, and then up towards Semaforo. Dubek now looking to try and make good his escape if he can. So having gained third, try and get himself through and ahead of Choitsis and then pull away is the idea that he's looking to try and do. Vladimir Choitsis is now in that unenviable position that he wants to attack to get himself back into the podium spot, but he still might have to defend from Simon Palat's number 66 re-liveried car for this weekend. So out of Roma they'll go. The Czech ahead of the Cypriot, ahead of the Belgium for what is 4th, 5th and 6th position. All of the time, whilst Tobias Downhour is just strengthening his advantage. 3.9 seconds to the good now is Tobias Downhour. Brief puff of dust there from the 4th place car of Choitsis as he exited Curva Grande, just ran a little bit wide and then runs a little bit wide at Chimney 1 and Chimney 2, and through goes Simon Palat. Place gained for the number 66 car in the hands of Simon Palat, and that was fairly easily done for the 19-year-old Belgian there. Choitsis making a very uncharacteristic mistake, really. Maybe it's just dusty tyres from the corner before, but he seems to be struggling with pace a little bit at this stage, whilst our race leader has no such issues. Number 50, Hendrix Ford, turning his way through the left-hander now. The Hendrix Ford, the number 50 car, was second in the team standings coming into this weekend by just 4 points, but there is no driver racing the number 50 in EuroNASCAR Pro this weekend, so that sort of undoes the aspirations of the number 50 side of the garage for Hendrix Motorsport. But for Tobias Downhour, he will be ever more just focused on himself, not in a selfish way, but you want to win your championship as a driver. If the team's championship comes with that, great, but it's not going to, because he's racing solo this weekend in that car. But absolutely, it's first and foremost priority as the driver is secure the Drivers' Championship. What happens thereafter is not entirely in your control, but you securing your Drivers' Championship is up there. And remember, for Tobias Downhour, he would dearly like to do that. He finished runner-up in the EuroNASCAR 2 Series last year. He was the rookie champion last year. He was the first of the rookies in the championship standings. Further down through the order, this is Miguel Gomez, Yevgen Sokolovsky and Tom Krasinas all busy fighting away. And I'm just having a quick look to work out where that's going to be in the Legend Trophy. I think that's going to be for second and in the Legend Trophy, is it? Miguel Gomez, is he eligible for the Legend Trophy? I think he isn't quite. No, yes, he probably wasn't at the beginning of the season. He's 41 years of age now, so I think you have to be 40 at the beginning of the season, so he may well be. Pierluigi Veronesi's recovery drive at the wheel of the 27 is continuing as well. He's up on terms with Ossi Peltola at the wheel of the Ice Boys, as it's badged, Chevrolet Camaro. Ossi Peltola running a little bit wide again through Chimney 1 and Chimney 2. Not too wide. You need to get a good exit coming off the corner, but looks as though Pierluigi Veronesi might just be able to unlock him here and work his way up through into 14th position. Is he going to try anything on the approach up towards Champagnero? Looks as though he's trying for the inside line. The door just closes. Doesn't quite make it through on that occasion. So just keeps his powder dry for the moment. And then should be able to try elsewhere around the lap. He's not going to try it heading in towards Cerati, but a little bit slower coming off the corner was Ossi Peltola. So that could present another opportunity as they now head in towards Semaforo and Tornantino, which are the next couple of corners. Well, Choitsis is under enormous pressure here by the look of things. He has dropped way down through the order. Nave Talor has caught up with him, then Justin Kuntz, followed by Advait Dioda, and I think Leonardo Colavita's in there as well. So this is a fantastic fight. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th place all together, and 10th position as well. So great fight. Choices by the skin of his teeth, hanging on to 5th place. He's got Nave Talor right behind him. Talor, as we hear, is going to pick up a time penalty for some sort of infringement, but that's not going to stop the man from Israel, the winner from Zolder, looking to try and squeeze his way through. Up the inside of the Cypriot, gets the overlap in between Chimney 1 and Chimney 2. Through goes the Chevy ahead of the Ford. Another place lost for Vladimiras Choitzis, who, remember, was lying 3rd in the championship standings and is now down to 6th in the race, with all of his main championship rivals he's squabbling with, either ahead of him or slowly picking their way through and past. And for Choitzis, I just think that the car isn't quite where he wants it to be at the moment. He might lose out a further place here to Advait Dioda. They're 3 wide. Advait Dioda on the right, on the left-hand side. Justin Kuntz on the right-hand side, and they both go past Choitzis there. Then Dioda runs wide, heading out of Cerati, which allows the next of the cars to squeeze its way through. And yeah, he's just getting picked off, isn't he? There's clearly an issue with the number 1 Ford, and Dioda has a spin coming out of the Trinchea left-hander. Rotates the number 56 car. Now that's big implications for his championship aspirations, because he was lying 5th in the championship, and off, I'm afraid, has gone Ossi Peltola. So that is him into retirement in his EuroNASCAR debut in his first race. Problems for Max Lancer as well. Now Max was leading the Legend Trophy. That looks like it might be a front right puncture. So has that been an incident with Ossi Peltola? So that's Max Lancer limping his way round now, and that is going to mean now that picking up the lead in the Legend Trophy, I think, is going to be Miguel Gomez. Can't see the separate subcategories on the timing screen, but I think everybody ahead of Miguel Gomez would either be... And Advait Dioda's car is still stricken in the middle of the circuit. That's not ideal. All right, we need to get that car fired up, because if that car... Maybe it's heat soak that's the problem, but if you can't get that car going, we are going to have little choice but to go full course caution, because where did the marshals get to that? They would get to it if they could, but it's in a place where there's no marshals post close to it, and it's quite a long way from the safety of the barriers to get out there yet. So we go full course caution. Out comes the safety car. We go full course caution, so the 6-second advantage that Tobias Downhauer had built up is all going to count for not a great deal now. That's going to bunch the field up once more. So Tobias Downhauer leading by 6 seconds from Francesco Caristo before the safety car came out, who was under pressure from Martin Dubeck, and Simon Palat wasn't that far away. In 4th place, Nave Talor was up to 5th, Justin Kuntz was up to 6th, Levi Lintecantu will be the leading rookie, as he's there in 7th place at the moment. Leonardo Colavita is also a rookie, though. He's there in 8th place. Vladimiras Choitzis had dropped to 9th, but it's only getting worse for Choitzis, I'm afraid. And Alberto Panabianco, who is also a rookie, is there in 10th place. Alfredo Di Matteo has made good progress, actually. Let's just have a quick look. There's the spin, all on his own, wasn't it, really, for Advait Dioda? Nothing obvious. It just looked like he turned into the corner and the tail end lost traction, but then to not be able to restart the car, very strange one indeed. So that is an enormous shame for Advait Dioda, who claimed his so far first and only career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR 2 division at Brands Hatch. That was back on the 3rd of July rather. Ossi Peltola's car getting hauled out of the way as well. Didn't quite see what caused Ossi Peltola's car to head off into the gravel trap there. But it shouldn't take too long to move that car out of the way. We certainly know that Advait Dioda's car is highly likely just to need either a push start or maybe just get towed out of the way if there's some sort of drivetrain issue with the car. So I don't think this safety car period is going to be too long, and it can't afford to be. Getting the wave by there is Alina Leubneger. Eric Quintal will also get waved by, as will Ariano Casali. So Alina Leubneger has picked up the lead in the Lady Trophy, and also getting waved by was Max Lancer. So that means that we do now have the race leader behind the safety car, because where the safety car came out, it didn't catch the leader, so we've waved everybody by. Not necessarily free passes, and yeah, still there is Advait Dioda's car, isn't it? Still stricken at the point at which it came to rest. So 11 laps completed, We're on lap number 12. We need to get that car out of harm's way, so hopefully we can go back to green flag racing. The regulations do allow for an overtime finish, so there is that possibility. The wording of the regulations, albeit slightly abbreviated, when the race is under safety car procedure before the leader starts the scheduled last lap, the race may be extended if conditions permit. So it's not a guarantee, if conditions permit. In this case, the race will be concluded with an overtime finish procedure in which the race will be restarted for 2 additional laps. There will be a maximum 1 attempt at an overtime finish per race. So you're not guaranteed an overtime finish, but if we do, there's only 1 chance of it, that's all. We won't get multiple overtime finishes. That's the wording of the regulations. Now, if Douwenhauer continues to lead this race, he would be on 378 championship points. Martin Dubeck is second, so he would be on 365 championship points, so there'd be 13 points between them heading into tomorrow's race. Vladimir Choitsis is 9th at the moment, so that would drop him down onto, what, 330 championship points he would finish up on, so he would be quite a way adrift now. And Simon Palat would finish 4th. That would mean Simon would be on 304 championship points. So that is, I think, the way it would work out for the drivers at the sharp end of the championship. Nave Talor, where's Nave? Nave's 5th, isn't he, at the moment? So if Nave finished 5th, he'd be on 319. But again, all of that will be confirmed overnight once all of the cars have gone through the technical checks that they need to do post-race. So they'll be held in parc fermé conditions for a period of time for those technical checks to be carried out, and only once they've all been carried out and concluded, then the cars will be released back to the team. So the Whelen lights still illuminated on the safety car. We are now on lap number 12, 12 completed. We're on lap number 13 at the moment. And for Tobias Douwenhauer, he'll be quite happy to see the laps ticked off behind the safety car, because, as I say, he built up a 6-second advantage. The last thing he then wants to do is have to stick his elbows out for more and more racing laps to try and defend what was quite a comfortable lead. But the safety car rules just mean that everybody catches up, all of those gaps disappear to nothing, and the fewer laps that he has to complete at full race pace again, the less defending arguably he's got to do. I mean, to be fair, he always looked in a strong position, having set the pole time when he was just 6 laps into qualifying, whereas, I say, other drivers have done 14, 15 laps on their tyres. So Tobias Douwenhauer had always got a good car underneath him and had got a fresher set of tyres than, I think, anybody else that was on the field. He did fewer laps in qualifying than anybody else. There were a few others that were single figures, but most were double figures, and the vast majority of those were into the teens in terms of the numbers of laps. So waiting confirmation that the circuit is clear. We'll have to see whether Theodore's car is out of the way. It looks as though it is now. It looks as though it's been moved from the position at which it came to rest. And once the circuit is clear of all of the stricken cars, once the marshals are back behind the barriers, off go the Whelen lights, which means that we should be good to go racing at the end of this lap. So they'll get themselves into 2x2 order coming out of this corner. And this hasn't done Nave Talor a great deal of good, this safety car period, because, of course, he'd got a buffer between himself and some of the other cars behind, but he's got a 5-second penalty, and that means that everybody's now queuing up behind him once more. So Talor, 5th on the road, is just going to drop down through the order, I'm afraid. But again, that's one of the difficult things. So safety car will peel its way to driver's right into the pit lane, left as we look at it on the screen. Tobias Douwenhauer, the black car, alongside him is Francesco Garisto in the white car. Remember, Douwenhauer has had wins so far this season. He has had 4 wins. Francesco Garisto's best is a 2nd. Could he go to victory lane for his first career win? We'll find out, because we're about to start lap number 14 this time through. So lights go out, green flags waved, we're back away and racing once more. It's not a bad start from Francesco Garisto, but it's probably a better start from the 3rd place car of Martin Dubeck, who might sneak through into 2nd place here. Yes, he does. And now Nave Talor is trying to squeeze his way through up into 3rd place on the road, the car that's carrying the additional 5-second time penalty, but Garisto prevents that from happening and hangs on to the place. And Talor, in the meantime, I think was unpicked by Simon Palat at the wheel of the number 66 Chevy. So the restart everybody has safely made it through. There's a bit of contact in the background, somebody rally crossing their way back onto the circuit, and that was Alberto Panebianco, I think, that got caught out. And with the Not Only Motorsport number 89 car now, is going to be carrying a bit of front damage to that car for the next few laps or so. The rookie up towards Champagnero, they thread their way. Certainly looks as though Tobias Downhauer has got the restart that he was after. Back into the lead of the race and already started to trample a little bit of daylight between himself and his Hendricks Motorsport teammate, which is Martin Dubeck, who lies second to him in the championship standings, remember. Francesco Garisto, who was second on the road prior to the safety car, now down into third place. This is Miguel Gomez. He's got Max Lancer right behind him, so that will be for the lead of the Legend Trophy. Those two busy squabbling away, the 46 and the 88. Max Lancer, remember, was leading that in the early stages of the race, then had a problem, I think pitted, and almost dropped off the lead lap, but the safety car has helped him, and he's now back in a position to maybe win the Legend Trophy again. So lap 14, they're about to head on to their final lap of the race this time through. Ford, from the number 42 Shadow that sits there in third position, and as they head over the start-finish line now, one more lap to go, so 2.538 miles or 4.085 kilometres between Tobias Downhauer and what would be victory number 5 of the season, and career win number 8 it would be if he can hang on to it. He's already joint third in the all-time winners list in EuroNASCAR 2, because many a driver start in EuroNASCAR 2 and then move up to EuroNASCAR Pro, and I'm sure that will be the focus if Downhauer becomes the champion to do that next year. So this would move him clear of the likes of Josh Burton and Lasse Sorensen in terms of wins in EuroNASCAR 2, if he can hang on to it. Or could Martin Dubeck scoop up his career win number 7? He's on 6 at the moment, lying second in the race and just 0.4 of a second adrift of his main championship rival as they thread their way back down the straight and up towards Cerretti for the final time. So in towards the left-hander, Hendricks Ford. From Hendricks Ford, these are the cars that are also second and first respectively in the teams championship. It looks as though that is surely going the way of Hendricks again, the teams championship for the 3rd consecutive year. But as they head through and out of Semaforo and up towards Tornadino, it looks as though Tobias Downhauer has everything under control. Martin Dubeck is just that little bit too far away, and he is going to extend his championship lead by a further 10 points. There was just 3 championship points separating these two drivers coming into this race as they come out of the S's and up towards Roma for the final turn. Remember, it's 80 points for a win, it's 70 for second, so it is going to be a 13-point advantage heading into the final race of the season in EuroNASCAR 2. Tobias Downhauer comes through to claim the win, his 7th of his career, putting him in 3rd in the all-time winners list in EuroNASCAR 2. Martin Dubeck finishes in 2nd place, with Francesco Garisto back on the podium again in 3rd place. Simon Palat 4th, Nave Talor 5th on the road, but has got a 5-second penalty, so that will drop him down through the order. Justin Kuntz was 6th on the road. Livio Lintecantu 7th. I think that gives him the rookie win for the rookie trophy from the likes of Leonardo Colavita and then also Alfredo Di Matteo, who is a rookie. So I think that 7th, 8th and 9th will be all of the rookies home. And the win in the Legend Trophy, we didn't see it, we saw it building, but it did go the way of Max Lancer. What a drive from him in the end to fight his way back up through the order, having lost all of that time, and still took the rookie win. Still took the Legend win in 10th position from Miguel Gomez, who will be 2nd of the Legends home. And who would be 3rd of the Legends home? It would be 16th place, I think. Paolo Valeri would be at the 3rd of the Legends home. And the lady win in the Lady Trophy will go the way of Elina Leubniger, who finished in 19th position. So the cars working their way back around the circuit. As they're doing so, I'll just confirm the positions they were in at the time the checker flag fell, because remember, there are some time penalties to add into this. Tobias Downhauer claims the win from Martin Dubeck in 2nd place, Francesco Garisto in 3rd, with Simon Palat in 4th and Nave Talor in 5th. It was Justin Kuntz ahead of Livio Lintecantu, 6th and 7th. Leonardo Colavita, Alfredo Di Matteo and Max Lancer complete the top 10. Miguel Gomez was 11th, Tom Krasinas was 12th, Alberto Panebianco was 13th, ahead of Pierluigi Veronesi and Vladimiris Choitsis, who completed the top 15. Paolo Valeri was there in 16th, ahead of Yevgen Sokolovsky and Eric Quintal. And then it was Elina Leubniger and Ariana Cassoli that were towards the tail end of the field. So in towards the pit lane area goes our race winner. That is a step closer to the championship title for Tobias Dauenhauer. He will be on 378 points heading into the final race tomorrow. And that will mean that Martin Dubeck finishes today on 365 points. So that means that there's a 13-point gap between the pair of them. And that still means that it is more than all to play for tomorrow. Martin Dubeck probably needing to do the win tomorrow or finishing several places ahead. But if Dubeck were to win tomorrow, then what he'd need to do is keep his fingers crossed that Tobias Dauenhauer finished down in something like 4th position. But Tobias Dauenhauer will want to finish the season, as he has done, on the podium again, ideally with a win. There's only, I think, 2 occasions this year Tobias Dauenhauer has finished off the podium. One of those was the first of the 2 races at Grobnik in Croatia, and the other occasion was last time out, the last race that we had, which was at Zolder in Belgium, when he finished in 4th place. Other than that, he's been on the podium every single race so far this season, and everybody always says it's consistency that builds championships, and Tobias Dauenhauer has certainly had the pace. He has more than had the consistency, and Martin Dubeck hasn't done bad, but he's had a couple of finishes outside of the top 10. Other than that, all the rest of his are top 6s, but it's those little chinks, those little small bits where you don't quite do it one weekend for whatever reason. Then, yeah, Tobias Dauenhauer is the man that's had the consistency. So he's gone to victory lane, and he is being given the thumbs up that he's all right to get out of the car, and is going to be absolutely delighted with what he has done. It is another win for the number 50 Hendricks Ford. That is win number 5 of the season for Tobias Dauenhauer. Career win in the EuroNASCAR 2 division. Career win number 8 now. That moves him just 1 win shy of Stinus Longines in the all-time EuroNASCAR 2 winners list. And it moves him 4 shy of Tomo Ferrando, who is top of the EuroNASCAR 2 all-time winners list with 12. But as I say, so many drivers in EuroNASCAR 2 go on to EuroNASCAR Pro, so they don't always hang around that category. The young drivers always want to progress up to the top flight. And so that's why we don't see the likes of, 20 plus wins in EuroNASCAR 2, because they move on and start to try and rack up the wins in EuroNASCAR Pro, and I suspect that's what Tobias Dauenhauer will be wanting to do. He's down there in the pit lane with Andre. Let's hear from the winner.
I'm here with the EuroNASCAR 2 winner Tobias Dauenhauer. Amazing win. You survived the restart and you dominated the opening stages of the race. So how do you feel?
Yeah, very good start for us in this final weekend. Pole position in qualifying and now win in the first race. I'm so happy. The guys of all my team did an amazing job, and yeah, at the end it was a bit of action with the safety car, but I could manage to stay in front, and I'm just happy. Good foundation for tomorrow, and I'm looking forward.
Martin Dubeck closed in. He finished 2nd. If my math are right, you are now 13 points separated. So what's your strategy tomorrow?
Full gas, full throttle. We give all what we can do, and let's see what we end. So yeah, full gas.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased that Andre has the same maths as me. 378, I think, for Tobias Dauenhauer now. 365 for Martin Dubeck, which means, a 13-point gap is what exists heading into the final races tomorrow. Again, we will endeavour to try and bring you the podium presentations for each one of the categories. Apologies that we didn't manage it earlier on, but there are support races that are also being streamed on other social media networks. So again, we will stick with the EuroNASCAR podium for as long as we can before we then, if there is a support race coming up, need to switch over to that. So we will give those apologies in advance, but we will stick with this as long as we can, because it would be great to see Tobias Dauenhauer heading up towards the podium. There is the number 50 Hendricks Ford. It's been to victory lane so many times this year in the hands of that man there, Tobias Dauenhauer, the championship leader, and well, you could argue champion-elect, but you just don't know. Whilst it's mathematically still possible for several of the drivers to catch him, all he needs is a mistake tomorrow, a car problem, a retirement, and all of the season's work could come undone. So you've got to stay consistent through the whole season. He'll be heading up onto the podium. We'll have the overall race podium, which will be Tobias Dauenhauer, Martin Dubeck and Francesco Garisto, of course accompanied by one of the team representatives from Hendricks Motorsport. We will have our Legend Trophy podium. That was Max Lancer that did claim that from Miguel Gomez and Paolo Valeri, so I got those 3 correct. And the Rookie Trophy podium was Levi Lintercantu from Leonardo Colavita and Alfredo Di Matteo, so I got that one correct as well. And then the Lady Trophy should be Alina Leubniger. So here's the start of the race. You could see it was a good start from both men on the front row of the grid, with Vladimiris Choitsis looking to try and draw himself alongside Tobias Downhow, but ultimately getting picked off by Francesco Garisto, and the Cypriot dropping down into third position in the early stages of the race. As they went up towards Chimney 1 for the first time, Lo Pierluigi ran very wide indeed and dropped himself down towards the tail end of the field. The squabbles continued on circuit as well, with Ossi Peltola making his debut at the wheel of the number 4 machine, having a great little fight. Problems for Max Lancer were dropping the 88 down through the order. There was an attack for third place as Martin Dubeck, the Czech driver, finally managed to unpick the door on Vladimiris Choitsis and worked his way through up into 4th position. And then problems for Choitsis, not quite sure what happened to the number 1 car, but it seemed to go off the boil a little bit. The Cypriot was caught not just by one car, but by several cars, and was easily also passed by Nave Talor, who went on to finish 5th on the road, but remember, it got a time penalty. And even there, look, you can tell in a straight line, there was just no response from Vladimiris Choitsis as through went Advait Dioda and Justin Coots, both of them picking him off in a straight line. Makes you wonder, was there a problem with his car? There was certainly a problem for the 56 as Advait Dioda had a spin. Thought he was heading in towards the gravel trap, but the car was stricken at the side of the road. It brought about the safety car, bunched up the pack, but when the lights went back and we went back to green flag racing, it was Tobias Downhour that claimed the win, his 5th of the season, his 8th of his career, and strengthened his position at the top of the championship table heading in towards tomorrow. A 13-point lead he will have as we look forward to our second final of the weekend tomorrow. If you want to hang around for the podium presentations, please do so. If you are going to join us for the racing tomorrow, remember, if you're watching in Europe or in the United Kingdom, we move and put the clocks back an hour tonight. So we move from Central European summertime to Central European time overnight tonight, which means in the UK we move from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time. So don't forget, these are the new times for tomorrow, taking into account the changes of the clocks. It will be 10:05 in the morning Central European time when the EuroNASCAR 2 stream will go live. That will be 5:05 Eastern Daylight Time, because I'm well aware over in the States you don't change clocks just yet. You'll do that in a week or so's time. And EuroNASCAR Pro tomorrow, 13:35 Central European Time. That's 8:35 Eastern Daylight Time. Remember, if you're in the UK, it'll be 9:05 in the morning and 12:35 just after lunch. So they're your times for tomorrow. We'll confirm all of that before we leave the stream as well. So I think the podium is being readied for the drivers, and they will thread their way up onto the podium. As we say, we've got other support races taking place, so we will do this podium and then we will get the nudge as to when we need to finish off with our coverage of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, because the commentary team covering the support races will take over for that one. But we will hopefully bring you at least the overall podium as a bare minimum, because the cars for the next of the races haven't quite even made it out onto the circuit as yet. So it should, fingers crossed, give us enough time to at least rattle through this first podium. So the podium is ready, and I think we have got everybody we need. There is Hendricks Motorsport representative just talking to Al Galpin, who is the wife of the CEO of EuroNASCAR, Jerome Galpin, Team FJ, and Galpin family heavily involved in the organisation of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series since it was badged 2013, was originally known as the Race Car Euro Series and then became the Euro Race Car NASCAR Touring Series. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it, that one? And then since 2013 has been called the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. But the podium is readied. No trophies or champagne on there as yet though, so I suspect they will be presented, or the drivers will self-present, subject to what restrictions are in place. And then once we have got everything ticked off, all of the drivers gathered, then we'll be able to go. It's like herding sheep really, because you've got, what, 10 drivers that we need onto the podium and a team representative. You need to make sure that we've got all the presentation party as well, which are assembled to the left and the right of the podium. Need to make sure we've got the correct flags in place, we've got the right trophies, we've got the champagne, we've got the VIPs in some cases that are presenting the trophies. And once we've got all of those, then and only then will the thumbs up be given that we're okay to start with the podium presentations. So bear with us just while we await the arrival of drivers onto the podium. The final bits of clearing up being done as well. You can just see a couple of recovery units making their way down the pit lane, having scooped up the errant cars that had strewn themselves around the circuit. So it wasn't really a race of attrition too much. There were a few cars that didn't quite make it, and some of them still in the process of being recovered there. That looks like Ossi Peltola's car. Difficult to tell from that angle, but it looks like it might be the number 4 car there of Ossi Peltola, who, as we say, is one of a couple of drivers in EuroNASCAR 2 making their debut in the season. Ossi, fresh out of FIA, CIK, European and World Karting over the course of the last few years. And the other driver that's new to the series this year is, this weekend, is Alfredo Di Matteo. Both of those are non-championship scoring, so they will feature on the podium. Certainly we will see Alfredo Di Matteo on one of the podiums for finishing 3rd in the rookie trophy, but they don't pick up any championship points as it's their first weekend of racing. So they are invisible when it comes to the championship points scoring, but they are not invisible if they finish on a respective podium. We do still get to see them. So I think we can't be that far away now. Still no champagne or trophies on the podium as yet. Marshall's on the start line ready for the next support race, which hasn't as yet been released onto the grid, so that is good news for us, because it means that we get a bit more time to perhaps bring you the podium presentations. As I say, it is just taking a while longer to get the drivers out than I would have expected. It's been a beautiful day in this part of Italy as well. Feeling nice and warm, a little bit autumnal, but that's not unsurprising. But we are not that far away from Rome. It's only about an hour's drive at the most to Rome, subject to what the traffic is like on the way into the capital. Single seaters being released onto the grid, so I think we're only going to get the overall podium done. I don't think we're going to be able to bring you the Legend Trophy or the Rookie Trophy podium or the Lady Trophy podium, but I do hope we'll bring you the overall podium, and then we'll have to finish off our coverage for today with that one. But unless we get this podium out onto circuit shortly, we might not even have time to bring you the overall podium, but I'll hang around for as long as we possibly can. So I think we're ready to go with the podium now. I can hear the circuit announcer in the background. And here we go, onto the podium. We see Francesco Garisto head onto the podium. So we will be able to bring you this podium, but we won't be able to bring you any of the others, I'm afraid. 2nd in the race, still keeps his championship hopes alive, albeit a 10-point further gap has been opened up between Martin Dubeck and Tobias Downhow. There goes Martin Dubeck up onto the 2nd step of the podium. And the top step of the podium for the championship leader, strengthening his lead to 13 points now in the championship. Tobias Downhow heads up onto the top step of the podium, shakes his hand of his fellow teammate Martin Dubeck and Francesco Garisto. We'll then see the team representative also from Hendricks Motorsport heading onto the podium, representing the winning team. And now that we have got our 3 drivers and the team representative, it will now be time for the national anthem of the winning driver. So there we go, the German national anthem played for the 23-year-old Tobias Downhow, who is on the top step of the podium. But the trophy, the first of the trophies, being presented to, in 3rd position, Francesco Garisto. We've seen him on the podium this year. He's had a best of a 2nd. He's now at a 3rd. Is there going to be a win before the season is out? 2nd place goes the way of Martin Dubeck. He's had 4 wins so far this season, but sneaking in with his 5th win of the season in the race that we've just seen is Tobias Downhow on the top step of the podium. He receives his winner's trophy. And then, of course, we've got our team representative to receive the team award as well. which is being presented now. And then once all the trophies have been presented, it's time to scoop the drivers up onto the top step of the podium, conduct the last few photographs to be taken, and then hopefully there'll be some champagne make its way out onto the podium as well. It was sat there waiting for the drivers in EuroNASCAR Pro, and I think it's going to be delivered to them in EuroNASCAR 2. So the podium now having the champagne deposited onto it, they will spray it forwards off the podium, not at each other, because they've still got another race to do tomorrow. But congratulations to Francesco Garisto, Martin Dubeck and Tobias Dauenhauer, and to Hendricks Motorsport. Those are all represented on the podium that we see in front of us for our first EuroNASCAR 2 race of the weekend. The championship still to be decided. As it has done so many years in the past, it is going to go down to the final race of the season to find out who we are going to crown as our champion. And we will do all of that tomorrow here at Autodromo de Vallelunga. So the podium about to be cleared. We will not have the opportunity to bring you the other podium presentations, but congratulations to Paulo Vieira for Miguel Gomez and Max Lancer, the top three in the Legend Trophy. In the Rookie Trophy, it was Alfredo Di Matteo, Leonardo Colavita and Livia Litacantu. And the Lady Trophy was going the way of Alina Loib-Negger. So that's it for the moment. We can tell you what times you need to be setting your alarms for tomorrow. The first race of the day, the EuroNASCAR 2 race, goes live at 10:05 in the morning Central European time. That is 5:05 Eastern Daylight Time. If you want to join us for the EuroNASCAR Pro race, 13:35 Central European time. It says CEST there, but it is Central European time we will be come tomorrow, and that is 8:35 Eastern Daylight Time. Remember, if you're watching in the UK, it'll be 9:05 in the morning and 12:35 in the afternoon. So that's it from everybody here, all of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series team at Autodromo de Vallelunga. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow when we'll crown